Hello, and welcome to TD's Pokemon Lair. I'm TD and this is the Lair. Today, we'll be unboxing a box of 10 Pokemon cards I sent to PSA. Got them back in this nice little box, professionally packaged. Let me get them out of the box and we'll see what grades we got. Let's go. Let's look at this 1999 Pokemon game-based Devolution Spray, a trainer card, the number 72 of the set. Looking at the front of this card, you can see it's really clean. I don't see any problems on the surface or the graphics. No bends or creases. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's good. Looking from side to side, I think it's a little bit towards the right. And looking at our corners and our edges, I don't see any damage at all. Flip the card over and look at the back. You can see that on our centering from left to right, I think it's a little bit towards the left. From top to bottom, it looks slightly towards the bottom. Looking at our surface and our graphics, they're very clean. I don't see any damage on them. Looking at our corners and our edges, the two left corners and the right edge has some damage. And that's going to give us a grade of near mint 8. That's pretty darn good. Let's check out this 1999 Pokemon game-based Imposter Professor Oak, a trainer card, the number 73 card of this set. Looking at the front surface of this card and the graphics, they're very clean. I don't see any bends, breaks, damage, or dirt. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's pretty good. From left to right, I think it's slightly towards the right. And looking at our corners and edges, I don't see any damage at all. As we flip the card over and look at the back of the card, you can see that the surface is really clean. The graphics are bright. I don't see any damage or creases or anything like that. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the top, and left to right, it looks pretty close, maybe a little towards the left. And looking at our corners and our edges, they look pretty clean. They may be cut a little wrong, but I think they're pretty nice. And we're going to get a grade of near mint 8. That should have been a lot better. Probably should have been a 9. Wow. Here's a 1999 Pokemon game-based item finder, a trainer card, the number 74 card of this set. Looking at the front of this card in graphics, you can see it's clean. There's no damage, dirt, bends, or creases. Looking at our corners and our edges, they look really clean. I don't see any damage there. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's within tolerance, but from left to right, it actually looks pretty good too. As we look at the back of the card, let's start with our centering from top to bottom. I think it's a little bit towards the top. From left to right, it's a little towards the left. Looking at our edges and our corners, I think the corners look pretty good. Our edges, there's some slight damage down that right side. And finally, looking at our surface and our graphics, they're very clean. I don't see any damage there at all. And that'll give us a grade of near mint 8. Wow. I guess I'll have to take that one. It might have been better, but oh well. Let's look at this 1999 Pokemon game-based Lass, a trainer card, the number 75 card of this set. Looking at the front of this card, the Lass's graphics look really good. I don't see any damage to them, or if the front of the card there's no creases or bends. Our centering from top to bottom, I think, looks pretty close to tolerance. Our left to right centering, though, is a little bit towards the right. And looking at our corners and our edges, I see no damage that will affect our grade. Let's look at the back of the card, and we'll start with the surface and the graphics. They're very clean. I don't see any problems there like creases or bends. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the top, and left to right, looks a little towards the right. Looking at our corners and our edges, they don't look too bad. I think they're pretty good. And that's going to give us a grade of mint 9. I like it. We are looking at a 1999 Pokemon game-based Scoop Up, a trainer card, the number 78 card of this set. Looking at the front of this card, you can see it's really clean. There's no problems on the surface or graphics. Our centering from right to left is a little bit towards the right, and top to bottom, I think it's pretty good or within tolerance. Looking at our corners on our edges, they look really nice. I don't see any problems there. As we turn to the back of the card, let's start with our centering from left to right. I think it's slightly towards the left. Top to bottom is towards the bottom a little bit. Looking at our corners on our edges, the upper right corner has some slight damage. And finally, at our surface and our graphics, they're really bright with no damage, scuffing, or creases or bends. And we're going to grade of near mint 8. Man, I thought that should be a little better, but an 8's pretty good. Let's look at this 1999 Pokemon game-based Super Energy Removal, a number 79 card of this set, a trainer card. Looking at the front of this card in graphics, they look really bright. I don't see any damage, creases, bends, dirt, or anything like that. Looking at our corners and our edges, they look really nice and clean. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's pretty good from left to right. I think it's a little towards the right. Flipping the card over and looking at the back of the card, you can see that the surface and graphics are really clean. There's no bends, breaks, damage, dirt, or anything like that. Looking at our centering from side to side, I think it's slightly towards the left and top to bottom. That looks pretty good, probably within tolerance. Once we get to our corners and our edges, here's where the card goes bad. There's lots of slight damage all the way around the card on all edges and the corners. That's going to give us a grade of excellent, mint 6. That's pretty good with all that damage around the edge. Here is a 1999 Pokemon game-based Defender, a trainer card, the number 80. Let's look at our centering from top to bottom. I think it's slightly towards the bottom, and left to right, I think it's pretty close to tolerance. Looking at our surface and our graphics, they're really clean. I don't see any problems on those. No dirt or damage. And looking at our corners and our edges, they're really clean. I don't see any damage that'll affect the... Flipping the card over and looking at the back, our centering from top to bottom is a little bit towards the bottom, and left to right, I think that's pretty close to tolerance still. Looking at our corners and our edges, they look pretty good. There might be some slight damage on that lower left corner. And finally, looking at our graphics and our surface, I don't see any damage that'll affect a grade at all. And that'll give us a grade of near mint, mint 8. I think that should have been a little better, but oh well, let's take it. We are looking at a 1999 Pokemon game-based Energy Retrieval, a trainer card, the number 81 card of this set. Our surface and our graphics look really clean. I don't see any damage, dirt, grime, creases, bends, or anything like that. Looking at our centering from right to left, it looks pretty good. Looks like it's towards the right, and from top to bottom, it's slightly towards the top. Our corners and our edges, though, are really clean. As we look to the back of the card, you can see that our centering problems continue back here. From top to bottom, it's towards the top, and left to right, it's slightly towards the left. Looking at our corners and our edges, there's some damage to the two right corners and down that right edge, but our surface and our graphics look really clean. And we're going to get a grade of near mint, mint 8. That's pretty good. Let's look at this 1999 Pokemon game base maintenance, a trainer card, the number 83 of the set. Looking at the front of this card and graphics, they're really clean and bright. I don't see any damage, dirt, grime, or bends. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, it's slightly towards the top, and left to right, it's towards the right. But looking at our corners and our edges, they're nice and clean. Flip the card over, you notice our centering problems continue back here. From left to right, it's quite a bit towards the left, and top to bottom is towards the top. Looking at our surface and our graphics, they're very clean. I don't see any damage there. Looking at our corners and our edges, though, I think there's some look pretty good. I don't see much damage or anything that'll affect the grade there. Our grade's going to be a near mint, mint 8. I thought that's what I was going to get with that centering being off on the back especially. We're looking at a 1999 Pokemon Game Base Plus Power, a trainer card, the number 84 card of this set. Looking at the front of this card, the graphics are really clean and bright. There's no dirt, damage, or creases or bends on the front of this card. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's close to tolerance or within. Looking from left to right, I think it's towards the right. Our corners and our edges are really clean with no damage. Flip the card over and we look at the back, and you can see that our surface is clean, the graphics are bright, there's no creases or bends or damage. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, it's slightly towards the bottom, and left to right, you can see it's towards the right. Our corners on our edges look really clean. This is a pretty darn good card. And we'll receive a grade of mint 9. I like it. I like it a lot. I really think, and it's just my opinion, but I think they grade the original base set a lot harder than they grade the other ones, because some of these grades I get on these base set cards seem a lot more strict than on a lot of the sets later on. So that's just my opinion. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and like, and always remember, you got to catch them all. Have a great day.